She called me worthless in front of 100 people. 2 hours later, I was the only thing standing between her and death. You know that moment when you check your watch and realize you're running late? That small panic that hits your chest? That was me, every single morning. But the watch I wore wasn't some expensive piece of technology. It was old, scratched. The leather band was worn soft from years of use. And it was the most valuable thing I owned. My name is Daniel Cole. I'm nobody special. I fix things. Pipes that leak. Lights that flicker. Doors that won't close right. I'm the guy you don't notice until something breaks. And in a city like Iron Fall, in a building like Helix Tower, things break all the time. But that morning, that morning, I didn't know I was living the last normal day of my life. The alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., same as always. I didn't need it, really. My body knew the rhythm. 6 years of single fatherhood will do that to you. You learn to wake up before the world does, to steal a few quiet moments before the chaos begins. I slipped out of bed and walked down the narrow hallway of our small apartment. 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. Rent that ate half my paycheck. But it was ours. Mine and Emma's. I pushed open her door just a crack and watched her sleep. 7 years old. Dark hair spread across her pillow like a fan. She had her mother's face. Same nose. Same way of frowning even in her dreams, like the world was a puzzle she was trying to solve. Sarah, my wife. Emma's mom. Gone 3 years now. Cancer doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't care that you're 34 and in love and have a daughter who needs you. It just takes until there's nothing left but memories and an old wristwatch. I looked down at it on my arm. The watch Sarah gave me on our 5th anniversary. She'd saved for months to buy it. It wasn't fancy. It didn't connect to my phone or track my steps. It just told time. And it reminded me every single day that time is the only thing we can't get back. Dad! Emma's voice, sleepy and soft, pulled me from my thoughts. Hey, sweetheart. Didn't mean to wake you. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. You're staring again. Was I? You do that when you're thinking about Mom. 7 years old, and she already read me like a book. I sat on the edge of her bed. Yeah, I guess I do. She reached out and touched the watch on my wrist. It still works, right? Every day. Just like magic. Not magic, Dad. Mechanics. She said it so seriously, like a tiny professor. That was Emma. Smart as a whip. Curious about everything. She wanted to know how things worked, why they broke, how to fix them. Maybe she got that from me. Or maybe she just wanted to understand a world that had taken her mother too soon. I kissed her forehead. Get dressed. I'll make breakfast. 20 minutes later, we sat at our small kitchen table. Toast and eggs. Orange juice in mismatched cups. The radio played softly in the background. Some news story about Helix Group's stock prices reaching record highs. Helix Group. The company that owned half of Iron Fall City. The company whose flagship building, Helix Tower, I'd be working in all day. Emma pushed eggs around her plate. Do you have to work late again? Probably, baby. They've got some big event tonight. Lots of important people. Means lots of things that need to work perfectly. You always make things work perfectly. I smiled. I try. Mrs. Chun says you're the best at what you do. Mrs. Chun was our neighbor. Retired teacher. She watched Emma after school when I couldn't get home in time. She was a lifesaver, and I told her so every chance I got. Mrs. Chun is very kind. Emma looked at me with those serious eyes. She says people don't see how hard you work. She says invisible people keep the world running. Something twisted in my chest. Invisible. Yeah, that was the right word for it. I reached across and squeezed her hand. You see me. That's what matters. She squeezed back. I always see you, Dad. Helix Tower stood in the center of Iron Fall's financial district like a giant middle finger to the sky. 73 floors of steel and glass. Twisted architecture that made it look like a double helix. DNA made manifest in chrome and ambition. It was beautiful, I guess. If you like that sort of thing. To me, it was just a building with too many moving parts and not enough maintenance budget. I walked through the service entrance at 7:15 a.m., nodding to Marcus, the morning security guard. Cole, you're early. Big event tonight. Want to get ahead of the requests. Marcus, a black man in his 50s with kind eyes and a bad knee, shook his head. They work you too hard, brother. They work all of us too hard. Amen to that. I headed to the maintenance office in the basement. My kingdom. A cluttered room filled with tools, spare parts, work orders, and the smell of coffee that had been sitting too long. My supervisor, Greg, was already there. 50-something. Balding. The kind of tired that came from decades of being underappreciated. Cole, got a list for you. He handed me a tablet with the day's work orders. And listen, they want everything perfect for tonight. Vivian Cross is hosting some investor gala on the 60th floor. So if anything, and I mean anything, goes wrong, it won't. That's what I told them. You're the best I got. I scanned the list. Flickering lights on 34. HVAC issue on 52. Elevator door sticking on 18. Standard stuff. I'll handle it. Greg clapped me on the shoulder. I know you will. You always do. I spent the next 3 hours moving through the building like a ghost. That's what we were, really. The maintenance crew. The janitors. The security guards. Ghosts keeping the machine running while the living, the executives, the traders, the people in expensive suits, moved through their days never noticing us. Floor 34. Replace the ballast in the overhead lights. Floor 52. Adjust the airflow sensor. Someone had probably complained about being too cold. Floor 18. Realign the elevator door sensor. Simple fixes. Routine. I worked with my hands, and my mind wandered. I thought about Emma, about her school project on bridges, how she wanted to understand why some stood for hundreds of years while others collapsed. I thought about the bills on my kitchen counter, about Sarah's watch on my wrist, ticking steadily forward. Time doesn't stop for grief. Or bills. Or broken elevator doors. At 11:47 a.m., I stepped into elevator number 7 on the ground floor, heading up to check a maintenance panel on 45. The doors were closing when a hand shot through, triggering the sensor. Hold that, a woman's voice. Sharp, accustomed to being obeyed. The doors reopened and she stepped in. I recognized her immediately. Everyone in Ironfall knew that face. Vivian Cross, CEO of Helix Group. Billionaire. The woman whose name was on half the buildings in the city. She was in her early 40s, I guessed. Sharp features. Expensive suit that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. Hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. Eyes like chips of ice. She glanced at me for half a second, just long enough to categorize me as staff, and then looked away, pressing the button for the 60th floor. I pressed 45. The elevator started to rise. Silence. I stood in the corner, tool belt around my waist, trying to be as invisible as possible. That's the game, right? When you're in an elevator with someone like Vivian Cross, you disappear. You become part of the machinery. But then she looked at my wrist. Is that watch a joke? I blinked. Excuse me? She gestured impatiently. That thing on your arm. Is it some kind of ironic statement? Vintage chic. I looked down at Sarah's watch. My heart rate picked up. No, ma'am. It's just my watch. It looks like it belongs in a museum. Or a dumpster. She laughed. Not a mean laugh, exactly. Just dismissive. Like I was a curiosity. An oddity. It works fine, I said quietly. I'm sure it does. But presentation matters. You're representing this building, even if you're just... She waved her hand vaguely at my tool belt. Maintenance. Standards should be universal. The elevator dinged. Floor 45. This is me, I said. I stepped out, and just before the doors closed, I heard her say, almost to herself, standards. That's the problem with people these days. No standards. The doors closed. I stood in the empty hallway, my hands shaking that I should have left it alone. I should have gone back to work, finished my rounds, picked up Emma, and gone home. But at 1:30 p.m., I had to go to the lobby to sign for a parts delivery. And that's when I saw her again. Vivian Cross stood in the center of the marble lobby, surrounded by a group of executives and investors. All expensive suits and fake laughter. They were touring the building before tonight's gala. Showing off. I tried to stay along the wall, invisible as always. But Marcus, the security guard, called out to me. Hey Cole, can you take a look at this panel? It's been buzzing all morning. It was near the group. Too near. I walked over, knelt down, opened the electrical panel. And I felt eyes on me. Oh, you. Vivian's voice. I didn't look up. Ma'am, show them your watch. My hands froze. I'm sorry. She stepped closer, and the whole group followed like a school of fish. 10, maybe 12 people. All staring. His watch, Vivian said to the group. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. The disconnect between personal standards and professional environment. One of the executives laughed. Is that thing wind up? I stood up slowly, my face burning. It's a gift. From my wife. Your wife has interesting taste, Vivian said. Or had a limited budget. The group laughed. Not all of them. But enough. She passed away 3 years ago, I said quietly. The laughter stopped. Vivian's expression didn't change. I'm sorry for your loss. But sentimentality doesn't excuse unprofessionalism. This building is a symbol of excellence. Everyone in it should reflect that. She looked me up and down. Even the people no one sees. Something inside me cracked. I see him. We all turned. Emma. Oh God. Emma. She stood near the lobby entrance with Mrs. Chun, who looked horrified. Emma must have talked her into stopping by to surprise me. My 7-year-old daughter walked across that massive lobby, her little shoes clicking on the marble, and she stood next to me. I see my dad, Emma said, looking right at Vivian Cross. And he's the best person I know. Vivian looked down at her, and something flickered in her eyes. Surprise? Annoyance? I couldn't tell. That's sweet, Vivian said. But your father represents this company when he's at work. Standards matter. Emma looked at the watch on my wrist, then back at Vivian. My mom gave him that watch. She said good things last. Not expensive things. Good things. The lobby was silent. Vivian opened her mouth to respond, but one of her assistants whispered something urgent in her ear. She nodded, turned to the group. We should continue the tour. Tonight's event needs to be perfect. And just like that, she walked away. The group followed. I knelt down and hugged Emma so tight. You didn't have to do that, baby. Yes, I did. She was being mean. Mrs. Chun rushed over. Daniel, I'm so sorry. She wanted to see where you worked, and I thought. It's okay. It's okay. But it wasn't okay. I was humiliated. Angry. Ashamed. I took Emma's hand and walked her back outside, told Mrs. Chun I'd see them tonight, and returned to work. That watch on my wrist felt heavier than ever. At 3:15 p.m., I was on the 58th floor, installing new fixtures in an executive bathroom, when I felt it. A vibration. Subtle. Wrong. I stopped working and pressed my hand against the wall. There it was again. A tremor that shouldn't exist. Helix Tower was built to sway in the wind. That was normal for a building this tall. But this wasn't swaying. This was something else. I pulled out my tablet and checked the building's structural monitoring system. We had sensors throughout the tower that tracked stress points, weight distribution, material fatigue. Everything showed green. But I didn't trust it. I'd worked in this building for 6 years. I knew its sounds, its moods, the way it settled at night, the way it breathed during the day. And right now something was wrong. I radioed down to Greg. Hey boss, I'm feeling some weird vibrations on 58. Might want to get engineering to check the sensors. Static. Then, Cole, the sensors are fine. Probably just the wind. I don't think so. This is different. The gala starts in 4 hours. We don't have time for ghost hunts. Finish your work. I wanted to argue, but I was maintenance. Not engineering. Not management. I was the guy no one saw. Copy that. I went back to work, but the unease sat in my stomach like a stone. At 5:43 p.m., I was in the basement, loading my tools into my locker, getting ready to head home. The building shook. Not a vibration this time. A jolt. Like the earth itself had hiccuped. The lights flickered. Then the alarms. Not the fire alarm. The structural integrity alarm. The one that almost never went off. The one that meant something catastrophic. My radio exploded with voices. Collapse in the northwest support column. Evacuate immediately. Get everyone out. I grabbed my emergency kit and ran. The service stairs were chaos. People flooding down from the upper floors. Smoke already starting to fill the lower levels. Emergency lighting casting everything in red. I helped where I could. Guiding people. Moving debris. Using my knowledge of the building's layout to direct crowds toward the safest exits. My training took over. Years of emergency drills. Of thinking 3 steps ahead. But in the back of my mind, all I could think was Emma. I have to get home to Emma. I made it to the ground floor. The lobby was pandemonium. Alarms screaming. Glass cracking. People running like the building itself was chasing them. Which, in a way, it was. I pushed through the crowd and burst through the main doors into the street. Outside, the world was sirens and smoke, and people streaming away from Helix Tower like blood from a wound. I stumbled onto the sidewalk, my lungs burning, and turned to look back. The tower was screaming, metal groaning, glass shattering, floors buckling. And that's when I heard it. A voice. Weak. Desperate. Coming from inside. Help, please, someone. I looked around. Everyone was running away. Emergency responders were still blocks away, stuck in traffic. The voice came again. And I recognized it. No. I took a step toward the building. Every instinct I had screamed at me to run. To get as far away as possible. To think about Emma. About who would take care of her if I died. But the voice. I thought about what Emma said in the lobby. My dad is the best person I know. I thought about Sarah. About what she would do. About what she would want me to do. Do what's right, even when it costs you. That's what she always said. I touched the watch on my wrist. And I ran back into the screaming building. The lobby was hell. Smoke thick as soup. Sparks raining from shattered light fixtures. The floor tilted at an angle that made my stomach lurch. Where are you? I shouted. Here, please. I followed the voice, climbing over overturned furniture, ducking under collapsed ceiling tiles. And then I found her. Vivian Cross. Pinned under a massive steel beam that had fallen from the ceiling. Blood on her face. Her expensive suit torn and dirty. Eyes wide with terror. She saw me. And in that moment, I saw recognition. Shame. And desperate hope. You, she whispered. Yeah, I said. Me. I knelt down and assessed the situation with the same calm I used to fix a broken pipe. The beam was crushing her left leg. Blood pooling beneath her. The ceiling above us groaning, ready to drop more debris any second. I looked at her face. Hours ago, she'd humiliated me in front of a crowd. Mocked my dead wife's gift. Made me feel like nothing. Now she looked at me like I was everything. Can you? She gasped. Can you get it off? I pulled my tool belt around and grabbed my hydraulic jack. It was small. Portable. Meant for tight spaces. I need you to trust me, I said. She laughed. It came out as a sob. I don't have much choice, do I? No, I said honestly. You don't. The building shook again. Somewhere above us, something massive gave way. The sound was like the world ending. We don't have much time, I said. I positioned the jack under the beam, right next to her crushed leg. This is going to hurt, I warned. Everything already hurts. I started pumping the jack. Slowly, carefully. The beam began to lift. Inch by inch. Vivian screamed. I know. Stay with me. I'm sorry. I kept pumping. What? I'm sorry. For earlier. For what I said. Save it. Save your energy. The beam lifted another inch. Almost enough. Your daughter was right, Vivian gasped. About good things lasting. About. 1 more inch, I said. 1 more. The building roared. The ceiling cracked. I looked up. We were out of time. Now or never, I said. I grabbed Vivian under her arms and pulled. She screamed as her leg came free from under the beam. I released the jack, and the beam slammed back down right where she'd been. Half a second later, and she'd have been cut in half. I didn't have time to check her injuries. I threw her arm over my shoulder, took most of her weight, and started moving. Where? She gasped. Where are we going? Service corridor, I said. Back exit. It's our only shot. I can't walk. You don't have to. I've got you. And I did. The woman who called me worthless. The woman who mocked my grief. I carried her through the collapsing building, using every ounce of strength I had. The service corridors of Helix Tower were where people like me lived. Narrow hallways. Exposed pipes. Concrete floors. The hidden arteries of the building that kept everything running. And right now, they were our only hope. I knew these corridors like I knew my own apartment. Every turn. Every door. Every structural weakness. Which meant I knew exactly where we could go, and where we absolutely couldn't. Hold on, I told Vivian. She was fading. Blood loss. Shock. Pain. Stay awake, I said. Talk to me. About what? Anything. Your life. Your company. Your favorite food. I don't care. Just stay conscious. I built this building, she said. Did you know that? I designed it. I fought for it. I wanted it to be perfect. We turned a corner. A chunk of ceiling fell behind us. It's a nice building, I said. It's killing us. Not yet, it's not. We reached a stairwell. Emergency lighting still worked here. Red light painting everything in blood. Can you do stairs? I asked. No. Then hold tight. I lifted her into a fireman's carry and started down. Each step felt like it might be our last. The stairwell shook. Metal groaned. But I kept moving. 4 floors down. Then 5. My muscles screamed. My lungs burned. But I kept moving. Because that's what you do. When someone needs help. When lives are on the line. You keep moving. We reached the basement level. The service exit was 30 yards away. I could see it. Daylight bleeding around the edges. Freedom. Almost there, I told Vivian. She didn't respond. Vivian. Nothing. I laid her down gently, checked her pulse. Still there. Weak, but there. I picked her up again, cradling her like a child, and ran. 20 yards. 15. 10. The building roared behind us. The sound of God's anger. 5 yards. I hit the door with my shoulder. It burst open. Fresh air hit my face like a prayer answered. I stumbled out into the alley behind Helix Tower, Vivian limp in my arms. Paramedics rushed forward. She needs help, I shouted. Now. They took her from me. Laid her on a gurney. Started working. I stumbled backward, my legs finally giving out. I sat down hard on the concrete. And that's when Helix Tower fell. The sound was biblical. 73 floors of steel and glass and human ambition collapsing in on itself. The dust cloud that followed swallowed the world. I sat there, covered in blood and ash, and watched the building where I'd worked for 6 years cease to exist. People were screaming. Sirens everywhere. The ground shook like an earthquake. And all I could think about was Emma. I pulled out my phone. Cracked screen. But it worked. I called Mrs. Chun. Daniel? Daniel, oh thank God. We saw the news. I'm okay. I'm okay. Is Emma? She's right here. She's safe. We're at my apartment. She's been so worried. Can I talk to her? Of course. A moment. Then her voice. Daddy. And I started crying. Hey, baby. I'm okay. I'm coming home. You promise? I promise. The watch lady's building fell down. I know. Did you fix it? I looked at the mountain of rubble that used to be Helix Tower. No, baby. Some things can't be fixed. Did you help people? I thought about Vivian Cross on that gurney. Alive. Broken, but alive. Yeah, I said. I helped someone. Then you did your job. I smiled through tears. Yeah, I guess I did. A paramedic found me 20 minutes later. Sir, you need to be checked out. I'm fine. You're covered in blood. Not mine. Still. Protocol. I let them look me over. Cuts. Bruises. Nothing serious. While they worked, I watched them load Vivian into an ambulance. She was conscious now, looking around with dazed eyes. Our eyes met. She mouthed something. I think it was thank you. I nodded. The ambulance drove away. And I stood there, in the ruins of the building I'd helped keep alive, and looked at my watch. Still ticking. Still working. Still keeping time. Sarah's watch. The watch that Vivian Cross had mocked just hours ago. The watch I'd been wearing when I ran back into hell to save her life. I thought about what Emma said. Good things last. Not expensive things. Good things. She was right. Some things you build out of steel and glass. And some things you build out of choices. Out of doing what's right, even when it costs you. Even when no one sees. Even when it scares you. I took one last look at the ruins of Helix Tower. Then I went home to my daughter. You want to know the truth about being a hero? It's not glamorous. It's not like the movies. It's your hands shaking so badly you can barely hold your tools. It's the taste of smoke and blood in your mouth. It's knowing that every single second could be your last, and choosing to stay anyway. That's what those minutes were like inside Helix Tower. After I found Vivian pinned under that beam, after I got her free, that's when the real work began. Because getting someone out of a collapsing building isn't about strength. It's about knowing the building better than it knows itself. And I knew Helix Tower like I knew my own heartbeat. The main corridors were death traps. Crowds. Panic. Structural collapse happening in real time. But the service corridors, my corridors, those were different. Narrower. Reinforced differently. Built to withstand the weight of the building's guts. Pipes, wiring, HVAC systems. They were our only chance. I had Vivian over my shoulder in a fireman's carry. She weighed maybe 120 pounds, but with her injuries, with the dead weight of unconsciousness coming and going, she felt like the world. Stay with me, I kept saying. Just stay with me. Sometimes she answered. Sometimes she didn't. The first corridor was clear. Emergency lights casting everything in that horror movie red. My boots crunching on broken ceiling tiles. The building groaning around us like a dying animal. I knew where I was going. Service exit Delta. Basement level. East side. It was the furthest exit, but it was also the most structurally sound because it was built into the original foundation before they added all those fancy upper floors. We just had to get there. Floor 58 to 50. The stairwell was intact, but barely. I could see cracks spreading across the concrete walls like spiderwebs. Each step I took, I tested it first. Maintenance instinct. You don't trust what you can't verify. Vivian groaned. Came back to consciousness. Where? Where are we? Getting you out. Don't talk. Save your strength. My leg. I can't feel my leg. That wasn't good. But I couldn't deal with it now. First survival. Then doctors. It's going to be okay, I lied. You're the maintenance man. Yeah. From the elevator. From the lobby. Yeah. Silence. Just our breathing and the building's death rattle. Then, I was cruel to you. Yep. Why are you helping me? I didn't answer right away. I was navigating around a section of collapsed ceiling. Exposed rebar. Sparking wires. One wrong step and we'd both be dead. Once we were through, I said, because it's the right thing to do. Even after what I said? About your watch? About your wife? Especially after that. I felt her body shake. Crying, maybe. Or just shock. I don't understand. You don't have to. Floor 50 to 40. We had to leave the stairwell. Too much damage. I kicked open a service door and entered a maintenance corridor I'd walked 1,000 times. The floor was tilted. Not much. Maybe 5 degrees. But in a building, 5 degrees means the math is all wrong. Means gravity is winning. I adjusted Vivian's weight and kept moving. The corridor stretched ahead like a throat. Pipes running along the ceiling. Electrical boxes on the walls. My world. The invisible infrastructure that kept the visible world running. One of the pipes had burst. Water spraying everywhere. The floor slick. I slowed down. Careful steps. One slip and we were done. Talk to me, I said to Vivian. Stay conscious. What? What do you want me to say? Anything. Tell me about yourself. Your life. Something real. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, I have a sister. Had a sister. We haven't spoken in 8 years. Why not? Because I chose my company over her. She needed help. Financial help. Her husband lost his job. They were losing their house. And I said no. I said she needed to learn to stand on her own. That I couldn't enable dependency. We passed through the water. Kept moving. She told me I had a heart made of spreadsheets. That I'd calculated the value of family and found it insufficient. Was she right? Yes. The word hung in the air between us. I built an empire, Vivian continued, her voice distant. Helix Group. Billions in assets. Thousands of employees. Buildings in 12 countries. And I have no one. No husband. No children. No sister. I have money and power and an empty apartment with a view that costs more than most people make in a year. Sounds lonely, I said. It is. We reached another stairwell. I started down. What about you? She asked. Your wife. How did she die? Cancer. Stage 4. By the time they found it, there was nothing they could do. I'm sorry. So am I. Your daughter. She's beautiful. Smart. She's everything. And the watch. Your wife gave it to you. I looked at my wrist. Still there. Still ticking. Covered in dust and blood, but working. 5th anniversary. She saved for 6 months to buy it. Worked extra shifts at the hospital. She was a nurse. It's a good watch, Vivian said softly. It's the best watch. Floor 40 to 30. The building shook. Hard. I stumbled, caught myself against the wall. Vivian screamed. Above us, something massive gave way. The sound of rending metal. Of physics asserting itself. Go, Vivian shouted. Leave me. You can move faster without. Not happening. I'm dead weight. You're a human being. Now shut up and let me work. I ran. Even with her on my shoulder, even with my muscles screaming and my lungs burning, I ran. The corridor behind us collapsed. Just ceased to exist. A wall of dust and debris chasing us like the hand of God. The anniversary of the Helix Tower collapse was marked with a memorial service. 17 families. Hundreds of survivors. City officials. Media. And me. I didn't want to go. didn't want the attention. But the families had asked for me specifically. So I went. I stood at the memorial park, surrounded by those 17 trees, and I listened to people share stories about mothers and fathers and sons and daughters who went to work one day and never came home. It hurt, listening to their grief, knowing I'd survived when they hadn't. Survivor's guilt, the therapist called it. But I listened anyway, because that's what you do. You bear witness. You remember. When it was my turn to speak, I almost said no. But then I saw Emma in the crowd, watching me, believing in me. I walked to the microphone. I'm not good with speeches, I started. I'm better with tools than words. But I want to say something about the people we lost. They were teachers and accountants and security guards and janitors. They were parents and children and friends. They went to work in a building that should have been safe, that they trusted to be safe. And it wasn't. And that's not their fault. It's not your fault, I looked at the families. It's the fault of people who chose profit over safety, who chose convenience over integrity. But here's what I know, buildings fall. That's physics. That's entropy. Everything we build eventually comes down. But people can choose to stand, can choose to do better, can choose to build things that matter. Not just buildings, but communities. Trust, safety, love. The people we lost today mattered. Their lives mattered. And the best way we can honor them is by building a world where this never happens again. Where every building is safe. Where every worker comes home. Where profit never outweighs human life. That's the building I want to help construct. Not one made of steel and glass, but one made of choices, of integrity, of caring about each other. That's what they deserve. That's what we all deserve. I stepped away from the microphone. The crowd was silent. Then, one by one, they started clapping. Not for me, for the people we lost, for the promise to do better. I walked back to Emma. She grabbed my hand. That was good, Dad. Thanks, baby. Vivian was there too. She'd stayed in the background, not wanting to make it about her. But as people started to leave, she approached. Thank you, she said, for speaking. For everything. We're all in this together, I said. Building something better. Yeah, we are. She looked at the trees, at the names on the wall. I carry them with me, she said quietly. Every day, every decision. I ask myself, what would honor them? What would make their loss mean something? That's all any of us can do, I said. She nodded. Then she did something unexpected. She held out her hand. Friends, she asked. I looked at her hand, thought about everything that had happened. The humiliation, the collapse, the rescue, the rebuilding. I shook it. Friends. That night, after Emma was asleep, I sat in my small living room and looked at Sarah's watch. Still ticking. Still working. It had survived cancer and grief and a collapsing building. It had witnessed humiliation and heroism and redemption. It was just a watch. Metal and gears and glass. But it was also a promise. A promise that good things last. That love endures. That time keeps moving forward no matter what. I thought about Sarah. About what she would say if she could see me now. I think she'd smile. That soft smile that lit up her whole face. I think she'd say, "You did good, Danny. You chose right." And I think she'd tell me to keep going. Keep building. Keep choosing integrity over convenience. Keep being the man Emma needed. The man she'd fallen in love with. Keep being worthy of this watch. I touched it gently. I'm trying, Sarah, I whispered. Every day I'm trying. The watch ticked in response. Time doesn't stop for grief or joy or anything in between. It just keeps going. And so do we. Emma is 12 now. Middle school. Still brilliant. Still curious. Still asking questions about how to build bridges that last. She's decided she wants to be an engineer. Not just any engineer. She wants to design buildings that are safe. That serve communities. That don't fall. She wants to build the opposite of Helix Tower. I couldn't be more proud. As for me, I'm still working for the school system. Still fixing things. But now I also sit on the board of Vivian's foundation. We've helped reform building codes in 18 cities. Trained thousands of safety inspectors. Created whistleblower protections for maintenance workers. We've saved lives. We'll never know how many. But we've saved them. And Vivian? She's different now. Still driven. Still intense. But her intensity is focused on something that matters. She lives in a small apartment. Drives an old car. Works 18-hour days not for profit but for purpose. We have coffee sometimes. Talk about the work. About life. She's become a friend. A real one. Funny how that works. How disaster can tear down the walls we build around ourselves. How being broken open can let the light in. Today is the 5th anniversary of the collapse. I'm at the Memorial Park again. Emma beside me. Vivian on the other side. We're here with the families. With the survivors. With everyone who remembers. We plant a new tree. Not for someone who died, but for hope. For the future. For all the lives saved by the changes we've made. Emma helps dig the hole. Vivian steadies the sapling. I pack the earth around its roots. Together. Building something that will last. As the sun sets over Ironfall City, I look at the skyline. At all those buildings reaching toward the sky. Each one a promise. A hope. A risk. Some will fall. That's the nature of things. But the people? The people can choose to stand. To help. To build something better from the rubble. I look at Emma. At Vivian. At all the people gathered around this memorial. We're building something better. Not just buildings. Lives. Communities. Futures. And on my wrist, Sarah's watch keeps ticking. Keeping time. Reminding me that every second is a choice. To be bitter or better. To tear down or build up. To run away or turn back. I chose to turn back. And it changed everything. Time hadn't stopped. Neither had integrity. Neither had hope. And in the end, those were the only things that really lasted. The buildings? They're just steel and glass. But what we build with our choices, that's forever. The news called it the Helix Tower disaster. 17 people dead. 43 injured. Hundreds more traumatized. And one building, symbol of Ironfall City's prosperity, jewel of the skyline, reduced to rubble in less than 4 minutes. The investigation started immediately. Federal regulators, city inspectors, corporate lawyers, journalists. Everyone wanted to know, how could this happen? The answer, it turned out, was simple. Greed. I didn't go to work the next day. There was no work to go to. Helix Tower was gone, and with it, my job. I stayed home with Emma. We didn't talk about the tower. We just existed together. I made her breakfast, walked her to school, picked her up, made her dinner. Normal things. Because normal things were all I had left. But the world wouldn't leave me alone. The media found out who I was. Found out I'd saved Vivian Cross. Found out about the watch, the humiliation in the lobby, the perfect irony of it all. They camped outside my apartment. Mr. Cole, how does it feel to be a hero? Mr. Cole, did you hesitate before saving Ms. Cross? Mr. Cole, will you sue Helix Group for wrongful termination? I didn't answer any of them. I just kept my head down and protected Emma from the cameras. But one reporter got through. Caught me at the grocery store. Mr. Cole, please. Just one question. Why did you go back for her? After what she said to you. I stopped. Looked at this young man with his recorder and his hungry eyes. Because that's what decent people do, I said. They help. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. That's what separates us from the buildings we make. Buildings fall. People can choose to stand. He wrote that down like I'd given him the secret to the universe. Maybe I had 3 weeks after the collapse. The preliminary investigation report was released. I read it online, sitting in my small apartment while Emma did her homework at the kitchen table. The report was damning. Helix Tower had been built with substandard materials. Safety inspections had been falsified. My maintenance requests, had been ignored to save money. The structural monitoring system I'd checked that afternoon, programmed to show green no matter what the actual sensors said. The building had been a disaster waiting to happen. And Vivian Cross, as CEO, had signed off on all of it. The media tore her apart. Billionaire's greed kills 17. Blood on her hands. The woman who built a death trap. I watched her televised statement from a hospital bed, her leg in a cast, her face pale. I take full responsibility, she said. The decisions that led to this tragedy were made on my watch, with my approval. I cut corners to maximize profits. I ignored warnings. I prioritized shareholders over safety. And 17 people died because of it. No apology can bring them back. No amount of money can undo what I've done. But I will spend the rest of my life trying to make this right. She didn't make excuses. Didn't blame subordinates. Didn't hide behind lawyers. She just owned it. And then she did something that shocked everyone. She resigned as CEO. Liquidated her personal assets. Created a victims fund worth $500 million. pledged to cooperate fully with all investigations and prosecutions. She chose to fall on her own sword 6 weeks after the collapse. There was a knock on my door. It was a Tuesday evening. Emma was watching cartoons. I was making spaghetti. I opened the door. Vivian Cross stood there. No bodyguards. No assistants. No cameras. Just her. On crutches. Still healing. We stared at each other. "Hi," she said finally. "Hi. Can I come in?" I glanced back at Emma. She was watching us, curious. "Yeah. Okay." Vivian hobbled in. I closed the door behind her. Emma stood up. Walked over. "You're the watch lady," she said. Vivian smiled. Sad. Tired. "Yeah. I'm the watch lady. Are you here to say sorry to my dad?" "Yes." "Okay. You can sit down. Your leg looks like it hurts." Out of the mouths of babes. Vivian sat on our worn couch. Looked around our small apartment. At the mismatched furniture. The crayon drawings on the fridge. The normality of it all. "Can I get you something?" I asked. "Water? Coffee?" "Water would be nice." I poured her a glass. Emma went back to her cartoons, but I could tell she was listening. Vivian took a sip. Then she looked at me. "I don't know where to start," she said. "How about the truth?" "The truth is I was a horrible person. I am a horrible person. I built my entire life on being better than everyone else. Smarter. Tougher. More successful. And I looked at people like you, good people, decent people, and I saw weakness. I saw something to be exploited or ignored." She set down the glass. "When that building started to collapse, when I was trapped under that beam, I thought, this is it. This is what I deserve. And then you came back. You, of all people. The man I'd humiliated hours before. You came back into hell for me. I would have done it for anyone," I said. "I know. That's what kills me. You didn't save me because I'm rich or powerful or important. You saved me because I'm human. And you're a better human than I'll ever be." Emma piped up from the couch. "You can learn to be better. My teacher says everyone can learn." Vivian smiled. It was genuine. "Your teacher is right." She turned back to me. "I'm not here for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. I'm just here to say thank you. And to tell you that I'm trying to be better. The victims fund. The investigations. I'm cooperating with everything. I'm trying to rebuild my life into something that matters." "That's good," I said. "I also wanted you to know that I've set up a scholarship fund. For Emma. Full ride. Any school she wants. Undergraduate. Graduate. Whatever she needs." I stiffened. "I don't want your money. It's not for you. It's for her. She's brilliant. Even I could see that in 30 seconds in a lobby. She deserves every opportunity. Please, let me do this one good thing." I looked at Emma, at her curious, intelligent eyes. "I'll think about it," I said. Vivian nodded, struggled to her feet. "Thank you for seeing me. I know it was a lot to ask." I walked her to the door. She paused, looked at my wrist. "The watch. It survived." "Yeah. Good things last," she said softly. "Your daughter taught me that." "Yeah. She's smart like that." Vivian hobbled out into the hallway, then turned back. "Daniel." "Yeah. You saved my life. But more than that, you showed me what a life is supposed to look like. What it means to be good. I'll never forget that." "Neither will I," said. She left. I closed the door and leaned against it. Emma appeared beside me. "I like her better now," she said. "Yeah," I said. "Me too." The anniversary of the Helix Tower collapse was marked with a memorial service. 17 families. Hundreds of survivors. City officials. Media. And me. I didn't want to go. Didn't want the attention. But the families had asked for me specifically. So I went. I stood at the memorial park, surrounded by those 17 trees, and I listened to people share stories. About mothers and fathers and sons and daughters who went to work one day and never came home. It hurt. Listening to their grief. Knowing I'd survived when they hadn't. Survivor's guilt, the therapist called it. But I listened anyway. Because that's what you do. You bear witness. You remember. When it was my turn to speak, I almost said no. But then I saw Emma in the crowd. Watching me. Believing in me. I walked to the microphone. "I'm not good with speeches," I started. "I'm better with tools than words. But I want to say something about the people we lost. They were teachers and accountants and security guards and janitors. They were parents and children and friends. They went to work in a building that should have been safe. That they trusted to be safe. And it wasn't. And that's not their fault. It's not your fault. I looked at the families. It's the fault of people who chose profit over safety, who chose convenience over integrity. But here's what I know: buildings fall. That's physics. That's entropy. Everything we build eventually comes down. But people can choose to stand, can choose to do better, can choose to build things that matter. Not just buildings, but communities. Trust, safety, love. The people we lost today mattered. Their lives mattered. And the best way we can honor them is by building a world where this never happens again. Where every building is safe. Where every worker comes home. Where profit never outweighs human life. That's the building I want to help construct. Not one made of steel and glass, but one made of choices, of integrity, of caring about each other. That's what they deserve. That's what we all deserve. I stepped away from the microphone. The crowd was silent. Then, one by one, they started clapping. Not for me, for the people we lost, for the promise to do better. I walked back to Emma. She grabbed my hand. That was good, Dad. Thanks, baby. Vivian was there too. She'd stayed in the background, not wanting to make it about her. But as people started to leave, she approached. Thank you, she said, for speaking. For everything. We're all in this together, I said. Building something better. Yeah, we are. She looked at the trees, at the names on the wall. I carry them with me, she said quietly. Every day, every decision. I ask myself, what would honor them? What would make their loss mean something? That's all any of us can do, I said. She nodded. Then she did something unexpected. She held out her hand. Friends, she asked. I looked at her hand, thought about everything that had happened. The humiliation, the collapse, the rescue, the rebuilding. I shook it. Friends. That night, after Emma was asleep, I sat in my small living room and looked at Sarah's watch. Still ticking. Still working. It had survived cancer and grief and a collapsing building. It had witnessed humiliation and heroism and redemption. It was just a watch. Metal and gears and glass. But it was also a promise. A promise that good things last. That love endures. That time keeps moving forward no matter what. I thought about Sarah. About what she would say if she could see me now. I think she'd smile. That soft smile that lit up her whole face. I think she'd say, "You did good, Danny. You chose right." And I think she'd tell me to keep going. Keep building. Keep choosing integrity over convenience. Keep being the man Emma needed. The man she'd fallen in love with. Keep being worthy of this watch. I touched it gently. I'm trying, Sarah, I whispered. Every day I'm trying. The watch ticked in response. Time doesn't stop for grief or joy or anything in between. It just keeps going. And so do we. Emma is 12 now. Middle school. Still brilliant. Still curious. Still asking questions about how to build bridges that last. She's decided she wants to be an engineer. Not just any engineer. She wants to design buildings that are safe. That serve communities. That don't fall. She wants to build the opposite of Helix Tower. I couldn't be more proud. As for me, I'm still working for the school system. Still fixing things. But now I also sit on the board of Vivian's foundation. We've helped reform building codes in 18 cities. Trained thousands of safety inspectors. Created whistleblower protections for maintenance workers. We've saved lives. We'll never know how many. But we've saved them. And Vivian? She's different now. Still driven. Still intense. But her intensity is focused on something that matters. She lives in a small apartment. Drives an old car. Works 18-hour days not for profit but for purpose. We have coffee sometimes. Talk about the work. About life. She's become a friend. A real one. Funny how that works. How disaster can tear down the walls we build around ourselves. How being broken open can let the light in. Today is the 5th anniversary of the collapse. I'm at the Memorial Park again. Emma beside me. Vivian on the other side. We're here with the families. With the survivors. With everyone who remembers. We plant a new tree. Not for someone who died. But for hope. For the future. For all the lives saved by the changes we've made. Emma helps dig the hole. Vivian steadies the sapling. I pack the earth around its roots. Together. Building something that will last. As the sun sets over Ironfall City, I look at the skyline. At all those buildings reaching toward the sky. Each one a promise. A hope. A risk. Some will fall. That's the nature of things. But the people? The people can choose to stand. To help. To build something better from the rubble. I look at Emma, at Vivian, at all the people gathered around this memorial. We're building something better. Not just buildings. Lives. Communities. Futures. And on my wrist, Sarah's watch keeps ticking, keeping time, reminding me that every second is a choice. To be bitter or better. To tear down or build up. To run away or turn back. I chose to turn back. And it changed everything. Time hadn't stopped. Neither had integrity. Neither had hope. And in the end, those were the only things that really lasted. The buildings? They're just steel and glass. But what we build with our choices, that's forever.